The alchemy of the 7 deadly sins, turning inner poison into soul gold. We all carry darkness, not because we are bad, but because we are human. And within every shadow is a sleeping key, waiting to be reclaimed. The ancient mystics categorized 7 primary expressions of human dysfunction, known today as the 7 deadly sins: pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. For centuries, they were taught as reasons for guilt, shame, and punishment. But what if that was only half the story? What if these so-called sins are actually sacred entry points? What if each one holds a coded message from the unconscious, a distorted cry for reunion with the soul? This is the work of alchemy. Not moral policing, but energetic transmutation. To meet our inner poisons and make of them a new elixir. This is not spiritual bypassing or moral excusing. It is the art of sacred self-integration. Let's begin. Part 1. Pride alchemized into authentic worth. Pride is often seen as the original sin, the arrogance that separates us from humility, from others. But look closely. Pride is what we reach for when our true worth has never been seen. It is the armor of the unseen child, the inflated mask of the chronically invalidated. It says, I must be more or else I am nothing. It's not just arrogance, it's compensation. But false superiority only deepens the loneliness. We become islands. So how do we alchemize pride? We drop the performance of self-worth and begin to embody the truth of it. Alchemy practice. Reflect on your earliest memories of feeling invisible or dismissed. Ask yourself, what part of me did I feel I had to amplify in order to belong? Begin a discipline of radical honesty, not self-deprecation, but transparent self-seeing. Replace affirmation with affirmation plus humility. I matter, and so do others. Alchemized pride becomes dignity, a quiet inner rootedness that neither inflates nor shrinks. The power to stand tall and still bow in reverence. Part 2. Greed alchemized into generative abundance. Greed is often caricatured as insatiable hunger for more. More money, more power, more success. But greed isn't about having too much. It's about a fear that there's never enough. Greed is a survival response from scarcity trauma, whether material or emotional. It's what the nervous system does when it doesn't trust life to provide. Greed says, if I don't hoard, I'll die. And yet, greed always leaves us emptier. So we have to go underneath it. Alchemy practice. Track the roots of your scarcity, not just in money, but in love, attention, care. Notice when your drive for more comes from fear, not inspiration. Practice giving without depletion. Generosity reprograms the scarcity wound. Reconnect to a greater source, nature, spirit, flow, and practice trust. Alchemized greed becomes sacred generosity. Not because you should give, but because you have enough to share. Part 3. Lust alchemized into sacred desire. Lust is more than intercourse. It is longing stripped of intimacy. It is desire without reverence. It is connection without commitment. It is fire without container, which can burn or create, depending on how it's held. Lust says, I want you to fill my void. It uses, consumes, possesses, because it's terrified of true vulnerability. But underneath lust is longing. For ecstasy, for merger, for transcendence. For the divine, mistaken as the flesh. Alchemy practice. Ask, what am I really craving when I seek lust? Attention, escape, proof I'm desirable. Channel energy into creative acts. Transmutation is a real alchemical practice. Cultivate the art of presence in desire. Can you stay connected to heart while desiring the body? Engage in slow longing. Notice how desire changes when it's slowed down and sanctified. Alchemized lust becomes sacred eroticism. Not dirty, but divine. The union of soul and flesh. The recognition that desire, in its purest form, is a gateway to the divine. Part 4. Envy alchemized into self-reclamation. Envy is the most taboo emotion. We're ashamed to admit it, we repress it. But envy is one of the clearest signposts to our unlived life. It says, that should be mine. And when met unconsciously, it becomes bitterness or sabotage. But when met wisely, envy becomes a compass. It points us toward the part of ourselves we have disowned. We envy the woman with the voice because we were taught to be silent. We envy the man with wealth because we were taught to settle. We envy the artist, the speaker, the leader, because we are one underneath fear. Alchemy practice. Make a list of who you envy. Be honest. Ask, what quality in them is reflecting back a buried desire in me? Instead of judging or dismissing envy, use it as a mirror. Begin small acts of reclamation. Speak, create, move in the direction of the disowned self. Alchemized envy becomes empowered aspiration. A reclamation of what we already are, seen through the reflection of someone brave enough to live it. Part 5. Gluttony alchemized into soul nourishment. Gluttony is the compulsion to consume food, media, distractions. But it's never about the thing. It's about the absence beneath the thing. Gluttony is the cry of an unnourished soul. We don't overeat because we love food. We overeat because we are starving for presence. We binge because we are empty, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, relationally. Gluttony says, I don't know how to feed myself the right way, so I'll take whatever I can. But more consumption does not equal more nourishment. Alchemy practice. Ask, what am I actually hungry for? Touch, stillness, meaning, love. Practice conscious consumption. Eat, scroll, watch with full awareness. Replace compulsive feeding with soul feeding. Silence, poetry, nature, prayer, breath. Create rituals around eating and consuming, not restrictions, but reverence. Alchemized gluttony becomes embodied devotion. The sacred art of being fed by life itself, not by substitution. Part 6. Wrath alchemized into holy fire. Anger is not the enemy. Repressed anger is. Wrath, when left unchecked, destroys. But when transmuted, it becomes protection, power, boundary, clarity. Wrath is sacred rage that has lost its way. It emerges when we've been voiceless too long. When our pain has been denied. When our no was silenced one too many times. So we explode or we implode. But beneath the fire is truth. A truth that demands a different life. Alchemy practice. Stop judging anger, befriend it, ask what it wants to protect. Channel rage through safe expression. Voice, movement, art, ritual. Learn to say no before resentment builds. Use the clarity of anger as a compass for what must change. Alchemized wrath becomes sacred power. The warrior energy. Not to harm, but to guard what is holy. Especially yourself. Part 7. Sloth alchemized into sacred stillness. Sloth is not laziness. It is resistance to life. Often born of overwhelm, depression, or quiet despair. We shut down because we don't believe effort matters. We give up because we were never taught how to believe in ourselves. We disconnect not out of apathy, but because connection feels too painful to sustain. Sloth is exhaustion of the soul. But even sloth has wisdom. It says, I need rest. I need meaning. I need something real to wake up for. Alchemy practice. Ask, where am I disconnected from vitality? Where did I stop believing in myself? Build tiny acts of momentum. 5 minutes of movement, creation, or connection. Listen to what the stillness is trying to protect. Let rest become sacred, not escapist. Learn to distinguish the two. Alchemized sloth becomes sacred stillness. The kind that regenerates. The inner winter that births a stronger spring. Final reflections, sins as seeds. The 7 deadly sins were never meant to shame you. They are not failures, they are fragments. Fragments of power, longing, and soul that got twisted in the dark. And now they ask to be remembered, to be met, transformed, loved. This is the work of the inner alchemist, to look into the mirror of your least flattering traits and see not your flaw, but your unclaimed medicine. These sins are not your chains. They are your raw materials. And you. You are the fire that makes gold from shadow,